From the Jack and Joan Strutter Studio in beautiful CCM at the University of Cincinnati, it's the Dennis Daniels Show! Tonight's guest, voice actress Kelly Sheridan. And now, here is your host. He is the first ever recipient of the Bearcast Radio Lifetime Achievement Award, Dennis Daniels!
Woo, woo, woo! You know it!
Oh, radio, tell me everything you know. I like to sing the radio. I like to play it real loud. I like to drive with the top down, rolling like thunder, always drawing a crowd. Every babe's gonna want a piece of me, yeah. I stare into the mirror. I like the things I see. Oh, radio, tell me everything you know.
Welcome, everyone, to BearcastRadio.com's greatest talk show segment, none other than the Dennis Daniels Show. I am your host. I'm the guy that if I was in Feudal Era Japan, they would probably burn me at the stake for heresy because I'm so crazy on the radio. And the first ever recipient of the Bearcast Radio Lifetime Achievement Award, Dennis Daniels. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to all our fans and friends out there. We have got a great show planned for you today. And what better way to get into the Christmas season than an all-new Dennis Daniels Show stocked in your stuffer? That sounded weird. Today on the show, we're going to cook up some low-calorie but high-tasting Christmas treats with Japanese chef Ukyo Kuonji. We're going to show you guys how to get those pesky rat demons out of your chimneys so Santa can come down on Christmas Eve with Feudal Era Demon Slayer Sango. You can join John Pokemon as he travels and explores the supernatural goings-on at Torrington Academy with local center agent Diana Lombard. And we're going to show you guys how you can save on your Christmas shopping by printing your own money with a local counterfeiter, Greenback Jane. All this and so much more going on today's Dennis Daniels Show. But before that, we got to kick it over to some promotional consideration.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hi, I'm radio personality Dennis Daniel, and like many of you, I'm tired of looking at great food on television only to get something that was put together in 5 seconds with no attention to detail and a lack of excitement and zing. That was until I discovered Ukyo Kuonji's Okinami restaurant. There, head chef and proprietor Ukyo Kuonji will make you a gorgeous-looking meal right in front of your own eyes. Of course, the food is only the second most beautiful thing in the restaurant. Ukyo Kuonji's Okinami restaurant. Remember, when you want beautiful girls cooking beautiful meals, just remember the girl that wields the 7-foot spatula. Ukyo Kuonji's Okinami restaurant, home of the original Japanese pizza.
Uh-huh. Yes, boss. What do you mean we're not doing any of those things on the show today? We're not? Oh, why didn't you say that earlier? Okay, thanks, boss. Some sad news, my friends. My boss says we're not going to be doing any of those things that I said before our commercial break. Apparently, I misunderstood, and I got that crossed up with the fact that tonight on the Dennis Daniels Show, we have got none other than voice actress Kelly Sheridan. For those who do not know, Kelly Sheridan is the voice of the Feudal Era Demon Slayer Sango in the hit anime Inuyasha, a feudal fairy tale. She plays the food-cooking, yum-yum-looking Ukyo Kuonji in the classic Ranma 1/2. And, of course, Diana Lombard in the classic cartoon Martin Mystery. When I liked Martin Mystery, that was a good show. That was actually one of the good shows. It was made by Marathon, and those are the guys responsible for Totally Spies. And that was a pretty good show, too. Though they never aired on Cartoon Network. They put it on Nicktoons like at 3 in the morning on Friday mornings. And I don't know why they did that. That was kind of stupid. That was stupid. But anywho, we've got big things going on here on the Dennis Daniels Show. Coming soon, a very merry Dennis Daniel Christmas, our first ever Christmas special. And you are not going to want to miss a single moment of that. Some familiar voices are coming back to spend the holidays with us. So you know it's going to be great. And speaking of, guess who has a credit in the all-new live-action Sailor Moon independent film? That's right, yours truly. And yes, I am serious, bro. I play the important role of guy that gives money to help make the movie come to life. It's a lot better than Megami's role. She came out of a school and got eaten, so I think I'm doing a little bit better than she is right now. Hopefully if they make a sequel, I will be the liberal radio host that says the Sailor Scouts are no good and causing all the destruction in the city. Yeah, I'll be like Rush Limbaugh talking about the Sailor Scouts and the destruction of the fair city of Tokyo. Something like that. It might happen. If you guys tell her that you want to see me as the evil liberal radio personality, we will make it happen. We will make it happen. I hope you guys appreciated my little intro there, giving a shout out to my Borowski internet champion, Zack Ryder. Woo, woo, woo. You know it. But let's get right back to Kelly Sheridan. Kelly Sheridan is possibly one of the most phenomenal voice actresses I have seen in a long time. Aside from doing, Sango and Ukyo, she's also been Barbie in several of the popular 3D Barbie movies. And if you know our show, we had Arnie Roth, the conductor from the Barbie movies, on earlier in July. And he went on to, of course, conduct the Distant Worlds concert. Awesome. We had a contest for that. Oh, and speaking of, for all you cosplayers out there, we are giving away the new Hitalia Axis Powers DVD movie, Paint It White. All you got to do is head over to alltastexplosion.com and click on contests, and you can find out how to enter our Hitalia cosplay contest. Now, Kelly Sheridan, I could go off on all these roles she's done, but in all honesty, that wouldn't do her any justice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play you guys a demo reel I put together of some of her more important roles. So let's take a look at what makes Kelly Sheridan so freaking great.
I can't stop thinking about what those pixies said, Bibble. I mean, Topaz can't really be kidnapped. She's too powerful. I mean, she's a guardian. Right? Bibble? At least one of us will get a good night's sleep. A lullaby. Peony, you always know just what to do.
Those men are from the Nuevo Laredo cartel. They're a branch of the Girolamo familia based out of Florida. I was hired by the cartel to fabricate old bills that are out of circulation. My counterfeit bill design team is scattered all over the world, but thanks to the internet, that's never been a problem. I'm the team's chief organizer. The leader, if you will.
So, what did you screw up to end up being chased by them?
Nothing. We didn't screw up. The problem was that they were ignorant Neanderthals. They lacked patience. To be clear, the only reason I accepted this job in the first place is because I was told I'd be able to make perfect counterfeit money. I'll be the first to admit I was shocked by the Super Z bills. The paper it produced was absolutely perfect, especially the composition percentage. The ratio of cotton to linen fiber is controlled at exactly 76.8 to 23.2. And yes, there are some people who say that you can produce product in a laser printer, but that's unforgivably amateur in my opinion. Compared to that, these guys seem quite professional. They had a Swiss-made printing press specifically for this job. Oh, I'd do anything to get my hands on one of those, but they're monitored so closely it's next to impossible to do it.
Excuse me, but what are you two doing?
I know this. Studying?
Wrong! You're breaking every library rule ever created!
Now, I know you're just a goody two-shoes die, but you should really take a chill pill.
I am not a goody two-shoes. I just have a healthy respect for authority, that's all.
Oh, yeah? Let's just see about that. I'm gonna put this book back, and I'm not even gonna look where.
Oh, did you? Keep laughing. I'll show you two just how bad I can be.
Well, hello! Welcome to Ukyo's Okonomi, Ranma honey.
Oh man, am I starving! Hey, you got anything good to eat?
Sure do.
This is great.
Is it really? Have you ever thought about getting away from it all? I mean, wouldn't it be nice to go somewhere quiet with no crowds, no noise, no traffic?
Yeah, we can do some training. Ukyo,
Can you what?
Can I please have a second helping?
I will not die. I will not die until I kill Inuyasha.
Good. But are you in any condition to fight a decent battle?
Slaying demons is my sole duty in life. I am your opponent, not him.
If you keep interfering like this, I'm gonna have to take care of you.
Just try it. Maybe my defenseless village was quick for you to slaughter, but I won't die so easily.
So as you can see, Kelly Sheridan has got quite a reputation for voices. You know, kind of like how I have the voices in my head. They counsel me, they understand, they talk to me, and that is a Randy Orton joke if anyone gets that. But I'm ready. I am stoked for this. I am, cracking all the muscles, cracking the joints, getting ready, because, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty. My guest tonight is possibly one of the best-known voice actresses in the history of anime. She's best known as Sango from Inuyasha. She also was Ukyo Kuonji in Ranma 1/2, a true classic, because where else in anime are you going to see a girl with like a 7-foot spatula? If I saw someone carrying a spatula the same size as Andre the Giant, I think I'd be running. I'd run, because getting smacked by that, I heard of flipping off someone, but that's taking it too far. And she's also known as Barbie in several of the popular Barbie movies. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I give you the one, the only, Miss Kelly Sheridan!
Thank you. How did you fit so many people in your studio? You got a crowd in there.
It's the magic of radio magic. But I gotta say, this is truly a huge honor, and I thank you for doing this with us. I gotta tell you, in high school, Inuyasha was one of the first anime I could really get into. I had to have a friend record it for me because I didn't have a VCR back then, and it was so cool. I actually think I started getting into Inuyasha when Sango was introduced.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a lot of people say the same thing, that Inuyasha was kind of the first anime that they really got invested in, which is very flattering, because we worked pretty hard on it and we did a lot of them, but and there's still fans that are discovering it now, which is great.
I mean, with all the DVD releases that are out, there are a lot of DVDs. There are box sets, there are independent DVDs, there are 4 movies, and I think the best one of the bunch is either Beyond the Looking Glass or Affections Touching Across Time. Of course, the first 2.
Well, we spent hundreds of hours recording that show. And that was just me alone. I can't imagine they must have spent thousands recording everybody.
But you worked with such a great cast. Richard Ian Cox, Kirby Morrow, David Kay.
Yeah, they're okay. No, I'm kidding. Oh. I know. They're fantastic, right? You can't, I think every voice actor in Vancouver was on that show at one point or another. So, the cast party was really fun when we finished.
I personally probably wasn't there, though, and that's Scott McNeil, because Koga was never in any of the movies. I made some Koga fans upset. Too soon! He's a stinking wolf.
Poor Koga.
Koga, why you know in any Inuyasha movie?
I'm sure Scott would have done it if they'd written one in, for sure. He's game.
Oh, he's game for anything. As I've heard. I've seen. You guys don't just do a whole bunch. You guys have done a whole bunch of different shows, and it's amazing. But we'll get more into that a little later on in the interview. What got you interested in voice acting?
Well, like most people in voice acting, I kind of fell into it by accident. I think that's kind of a common thread for any voice actor you talk to, because when I started, which was back in the early 90s, not a lot of people thought of it as a career. You just, cartoons got made, and you didn't really think about how they got made, most people. So I was a kid, and I had an agent because I was really into theater and performing, and my agent would send me out on various auditions, mostly for film and TV stuff. But one day I had a voiceover audition, and, I went to the audition, and I thought, hey, this is fun. I don't have to dress up, which you usually do for film and TV auditions. It was in this little sound studio, so that was kind of neat. And all the people were really nice and laid back. I thought, yeah, I can get used to this. This seems pretty fun. So I was a kid, really.
Sounds like the real deal, Lucille. Yeah, for those who are wondering, for those, maybe out there wanting to get their start in voice acting, there is a website, voicesforall.com. I went to one of their classes this past Monday at UC, and I want to make sure that everyone knows that there is a place that you can go. They do offer beginner and master class level classes for those who want to maybe pursue a career in voice acting or voiceover.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. Yeah, and there are places like that all over the country, in Canada also. Lots of people that have, are voiceover professionals teaching classes, and I'd say any kind of training you can get as an actor is beneficial. Just anything that's going to make you more comfortable performing and teach you a few tricks.
Yeah. Bearcastradio.com. This is the Dennis Daniels Show. We have got Kelly Sheridan on the air. Now, do you have any kind of professional educational background in voice acting?
Not in voice acting, but I do have a theater degree, which I think is probably the best training I could have gotten to be a voiceover actor. I don't think there's really any, not that I know of, I don't think there's a professional degree in voice acting. But a lot of people got their start in radio, or, I had a 4-year theater degree, and theater's great because it's very similar to voiceover in the way that you play a bunch of different characters. It's a lot more flexible than film and TV is, and you work on your voice a lot in theater school, and when you're in the studio, you have to project, you have to be kind of larger than life, which is a very theatrical kind of thing. So there are a lot of people, a lot of voiceover actors who have theater training. Yeah, well, we said people that are starting radio, and hey, I guess I'm in the right place. Exactly, yeah. A lot of people start in radio. The guys that have been around for a while, Terry Claassen and Mike Donovan, and a whole bunch of those guys did radio. David Kay did radio. It's a great way to start. You get comfortable in front of a mic, and I'm sure you just get used to putting it out there, which is what you have to do when you're a voiceover actor. Yep, putting it out there every day. That's what I do. Yeah. Yeah, jump to the edge of the cliff and leap off and leap of faith. Now, how do you prepare for an audition for a role? Well, it depends on the part, but usually I'll get what they call them sides, which is a scene or two from the script that the producers send you, and I prepare for it like I would a theater audition or any other audition. I figure out, hopefully there's some kind of backstory provided also. So I figure out who the character is and what they want and how they get what they want. And, all of that just ends up being manifesting vocally rather than physically and vocally like you do for a theater audition. And I have all this weird system of a way that I mark up my script of where I want to take pauses and breaths, and if I want to accelerate pace or, I'm kind of clinical that way. I tend to notate a script like a music sheet, kind of. And then I just go in and give it my all, and oftentimes you're given direction or an adjustment in an audition. So a lot of it's kind of winging it also. A lot of it is just being able to change it on a dime if the director wants you to in the audition. They frequently do, because I think more so they just want to see if you can take direction, because they're looking for that as well when they're casting. Yeah, because you got to do what the boss man tells you. Get the boss man dime, the boss man time. That's right. I've been known to argue back once or twice when I think that a different choice should be made and it's supported by the script. But for the most part, the director's got an idea of how the whole show's supposed to sound, and they're the one who's talking to the producers and the clients. So they have a whole different perspective that I, as an actor, don't. So yeah, it's once in a while it gets heated. We think, no, I should be saying it this way because it says it in the script. This and this. So I've been known to win a few and lose a few.
Well, what do you think your ratio? What do you think your win-loss record is? What, more losses than wins, or more wins than losses?
I think I'm probably about 50-50 right now. Yeah.
Neither winning, neither losing. Just in.
That's right. You got to inject some charm into those arguments, or you end up as like the snotty actor. So it's like it's a fine line. You've got to finesse the director sometimes over to your point of view.
Yeah, you want to finesse it, but you don't want to come off as a giant douche.
Right. Correct.
Essentially.
Yep. You stop getting work, too, which ends up happening.
Yeah. Now, we've talked to some of our previous guests, like Wendy Lee and Crispin Freeman, and they've been talking about having to get a second job to support themselves while they're doing their voice acting. Have you had to get a second job?
No, I've been doing exclusively voiceover for probably about 6 years now, and prior to that, I taught at a youth theater while I was doing voiceover. So it's been several years since I've had any other job than this one. I don't say I'd necessarily need to get another job, but it might be fun to get one just because I like keeping busy. So I do a lot of theater as well. I guess you could consider that a second job. But I've been really lucky. I worked a lot as a kid, and then I took a break for about 4 years when I went to theater school, and I worked in a restaurant, and I worked at a youth theater. And then coming out of school, I was lucky enough just to start getting work again. So it's awful. I sound really spoiled saying it, but I'm one of the few, I think, who's been able to, I'm very lucky few, who's been able to just make a living just doing voiceover stuff. There's enough of it in Vancouver that I've been really fortunate.
Yeah, we're seeing a shift of where all the voicing has gone, because when we talked with Veronica Taylor in our last interview, a lot of the voice acting was shifting from areas like New York to places like L.A. and Texas, where the big companies are. Like, for example, Funimation is in Texas, and you've got Bang Zoom over in California. But it's cool that there is some work up in the Great White North.
There is, and actually Toronto has a big voiceover scene too. So Vancouver and Toronto do really well, and then there are other major cities in Canada that have a smaller voiceover industry, but still there's something going on. People doing radio commercials for the odd anime show, or in Quebec there's some French shows going on. So we've got we're holding our own up here in Snowland.
Yeah, and that's what that's all about, eh?
That's right.
The best year was 2000, eh? I like Canada. They gave us Bret Hart. They're fine.
You joke, but we're often policed about our Canadian accents. There's every Canadian voice actor has developed all the tricks to sound American. So we've got to watch our outs and abouts, our hows and nows, our any kind of O sound, like Canadians say sorry or dollar instead of sorry and dollar, like you do in the States. So, yep, we're often very vigilant about trying to sound American because producers want it to sound that way.
And down here in the Americas, you've got people trying to sound Canadian, like on that episode of Family Guy where they had a Canadian Alcatraz, and the guy goes, "Can I go out for a swim?" And the cop goes, "Take me back for dinner." Okay. It's like...
you like to think, oh, we don't talk like that up here, and then you actually listen to people and go, I mean, it's not that extreme, obviously, that's a caricature, but yeah, we kind of do talk like that. We kind of do.
Is it true that summer doesn't last longer than a week up in Canada?
Well, I live in Vancouver, which has the same kind of climate as Seattle. So it rarely snows here. It maybe snows here once or twice a year, if I'm lucky. Like today is a gorgeous sunny day. I was out in a like a sweater and a vest, like a puffy vest, and there's snow on the mountains, but those are far away. It was just like a gorgeous, sunny, beautiful day. And we have amazing summers here. So it depends where in Canada you are, but Vancouver's super temperate. We have amazing summers.
Must be very nice up in Vancouver. I mean, I'd rather have Vancouver than right here in Cincinnati right now. Yeah. Let's take a look at the weather. What's the weather like? It's cold as hell! Back to you! Yeah, it's like frigid. It's like you walk outside, you turn into a snowman. I mean,
I'm not into that. We don't get that here in Vancouver. It's very temperate.
Yeah, it's like it's not too hot, but it's not too cold. It's just right. It's like the Goldilocks of weather.
It's pretty great. It rains a lot, so you have to like the rain if you live here. But I don't mind it. I mean, I grew up here, so I'm used to it.
Rain knocks me out.
Got my gum boots and my umbrella. Yeah, you just got to go out in it. That's the trick. People try to stay indoors when it rains, but in Vancouver you'd end up doing that 9 months out of the year. So you got to just go out and be willing to get kind of wet. That's all.
Well, I work at a grocery store, and last week it poured cats and dogs and rain and snow. So I do know a thing about going out in the rain for extended periods of it. So
yeah,
it's not glorious, but it gets the job done.
You got your rain boots and your fisherman's hat, and you gear up and get out there.
Well, I don't. I have a heavy coat. I mean, I used to wear like a red-green hat, but I couldn't put my hood over it. So
yeah, those are very waterproof. They're warm, which is good. You probably need that in Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, and winters are just right around the corner, Kelly. So everyone's going to be bundling up like Stay Puft Marshmallow Men walking around. This is going to be like the Christmas Story where they throw snowballs at the kid in the big puffy coat and he falls over and he can't get up.
Right, and can't get back up again.
Yeah.
I'll stick with my rain here in Vancouver.
BearcastRadio.com. This is the Dennis Daniel Show. We've got voice actress Kelly Sheridan on the air. Now, we're coming from the University of Cincinnati and the College Conservatory of Music, so there are a lot of theater majors, music majors, vocal majors. Do you have any experience or advice that you can give aspiring VAs so that they can pursue a career in the voice acting industry?
Oh yeah, I have tons of advice. I'll try to condense it, but they're already they're already in the right place. They're getting training. They're going to theater school. They're going to music school. They're working on their voices, which is like the thing you have to do first before anything else. So that's great. They're already way ahead of the game than a lot of people who want to get into voiceover. Unfortunately, I don't think Cincinnati has a huge voiceover industry, so they do need to live somewhere where there are voiceovers being recorded. And that means, in the States, that means LA, New York, Texas. In Canada, it means Vancouver and Toronto. So it's really hard to get the work if you don't live in a city that does it. There are a lot of online agencies, and they do some stuff, but the caliber of work isn't as great. And it's a great place to start, But if you want to be in cartoons or in anime, you need to live in one of those cities I mentioned. So they got to move. That's another piece of advice. And then they need an agent, and they just need to start pounding the pavement. I think a lot of people, I meet a lot of people with great voices, and they're good actors. They can do a lot of great characters, and they expect it to just once they get an agent, they expect it to just happen. But I think a lot of people don't realize you kind of have to pay your dues for a few years, for 2 to 5 years, I'd say, before maybe you even get a job. You've got to get an agent first, then you've got to get them to see you for auditions, and then you've got to land the audition. So tenacity definitely is a factor. There's a fantastic podcast. I don't know if you've had Trevor Duvall on your show, but he's a Vancouver actor. He's been in a ton of stuff, and he has this amazing podcast where he interviews voiceover actors. And there's a segment in every podcast where he asks them for advice for prospective voiceover actors. If they could give people advice, what would it be? So I highly recommend that as a listen, because people talk about how they got into voiceover, what it's like in the studio, advice for people going into it, and they answer questions. It's a phenomenal resource and really funny, like a really funny, great show for people who want to know what it's like.
Sounds like Trevor's cutting in on my turf.
You should have him on the show. You guys could duke it out.
All right. What's his last name again? What's his last name?
Trevor Duvall, Devall. It's TrevorDuvall.com is his show. Yeah, and it's a podcast on iTunes, so you can download it on iTunes, and they can download your show, and they can download his show.
They should download our show, because it's awesome.
They could get 24 hours a day voiceover awesomeness constantly in their headphones.
Well, who wouldn't want to listen to Trevor Duvall? I mean, I'm looking at his list right now, and wow, he's got some. Wow, he's going to have David Kaye on the show, and James Owen Taylor, and Kyle Aber, and wait, what's this? Kelly Sheridan.
I maybe have been on the show. Yes, I think I was his first female guest, and I made it out alive. So that's my claim to fame. Well, maybe your second one. The first one, us. I'm sorry. I'm being terrible. I'm sorry. Now, what was one of your first roles, if you remember? Do you remember by chance one of your first early roles? I do. I remember my very first. It was a guest spot on this show called Captain Zed and the Z Zone. I think that's what it was. Or I think that's what it was. Captain Zed and the Dream Team, or Captain Zed and the Z Zone. And I actually landed that part while I was auditioning for something else. I was in the studio, and I auditioned for this part, and the director for Captain Zed, Paul Quinn, I think it was walking by in the hallway and heard me and said, "Oh, we need a young teenage girl for our show tomorrow. She sounds good. Let's bring her in." So I didn't get the part that I was there auditioning for, but I got a part on this other show. And it was just a one-day thing, but it was so fun. And that was what kind of kick-started it. I was lucky enough to be one of the only young women in Vancouver who was doing voiceovers at that time, just when it was starting to really get going in Vancouver. So I got it in the ground floor, and that's really kind of above the curve, and that got me in the door.
Sounds like you had a pretty interesting start into voice acting, and of course, that would pave the road for such many classic characters, and that leads us into our next question. One of your earlier roles, and a personal favorite of mine, was Ukyo Kuonji from Ranma 1/2. How did you audition for that role, and how did you, develop her character?
Well, I'd never heard of Ranma when I went in. That was in 1994, so pre-internet, and I had prepared for it. From what I remember, I prepared for it like I did anything else. They had a little breakdown. They had a picture of her, and I figured out right away, okay, she's like really romantic and girly, but she's got this massive spatula that she beats people with. So she's also got to be kind of feisty. And I just kind of went in with a read like that, and I guess it paid off. And I had no idea at the time how insanely popular it was. It wasn't until I landed the show and I went in for the first record that Toshi Yoshida was there. He was the script consultant on that show and on Inuyasha, actually. So I've known him for almost 20 years. And he said, "You have no idea what you're getting into. This show, you're going to hear from fans after this show." And I sure did. It was, I had no idea what I was in for and how popular the show was. So luckily I didn't know, because there would have been way too much pressure. I found that out later. So.
All right, now let me see if I can try to sum up Ranma 1/2 in a few choice words. Martial arts, gender switching, guy turns into a pig, Chinese Amazons, ice skating, of course, Japanese cook with a giant spatula.
Yeah.
Oh boy, what else?
People named after hair products.
People named after hair products. And that's what really got me, because you have Shampoo, who is, by the way, hot. You have Moose, of course. Well, of course, Moose. And wasn't there, like, conditioner? Was there a conditioner?
I don't think there was a conditioner. Not that I remember, but that was about 15 years ago. So there might have been a conditioner. I don't think so. I only remember Shampoo and Moose.
Shampoo and Moose, and
who I think were Kathy Westlock and Brad Swale. Was that who played them?
Kathy Westlock. We're actually in talk with her to have her on the show in the near future. So.
Oh, she's fantastic.
Oh, that'll be. I have a bit of a crush on Shampoo.
Oh, you should get her to do her Shampoo voice.
I know. Well, I know, but I still have a thing for Ukyo. Don't worry.
Ukyo. Good, because if you don't, I'll beat you with my spatula.
Don't beat with a spatula, Ukyo. Ukyo, I want to give you. I made you a commercial. I gave you some promotional product placement. You can't buy that. But I'm going to tell you this, Ukyo. I'll tell you what. Ryoga, ditch a zero, get with a hero. Dennis Daniel, always treat you nice. Got the class, predictive devastation of the all-taste nation, and I'm not a picky eater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm in.
All right. Woo! All right, sweet. Now, I mean, what was it like working on Ranma? I mean, you also, of course, did the anime and the several OVAs like Ni Hao My Concubine. And what do you think of the love-hate relationship that was going on with Ranma and Akane and Shampoo and Kadachi? And it just seems
well, first of all, Ranma's a lucky guy. You got to tell that. I never knew why he didn't just take everyone up on their offers, because he's got to be nuts. But that kind of stuff is so much fun to play as an actor. It's so much fun to play that silly, campy. Once in a while it would hit that serious note, which kind of grounded the show. But it was just ridiculous. It was just funny hijinks, and that's always fun to play as an actor. You never knew what you were getting into, because we'd read the scripts, of course. We have no idea what the show looks like until you're going in and recording it in the moment. So there'd always be the gratuitous boob shot, and you're just in for wacky times in the studio. It was a blast to work on that show, and I think I was on it for about 10 years. That was a long haul of Ranma, because there were so many episodes.
Yeah, I believe there were well over 100 episodes of Ranma, of course. And I'm just let me see if I can pull up the list. I mean, I was actually watching the cook-off episode today, where Ukyo, Shampoo, Akane, and Kadachi are all cooking off to try to win Ranma as a fiancé.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, it ends up with all the guys just, laying the smack down to Ranma, so there is no definitive winner.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, wow. I mean, they all offered something. Well, except for Akane. She made tofu, which is like that's your A game? It's hard to believe.
We can't all be Ukyos. Have you actually had okonomiyaki? It's delicious.
No, I have not. But I would actually like to try that Japanese pizza, though. That sounds great.
It's fantastic. The first time I had it was in Japan. The people I was with took me out for okonomiyaki, and it's so good. I've had it quite a few times since. It's not really like like pizza. It's not like an omelet. It's more like a potato kind of omelette-y, delicious concoction with Japanese mayo and fish flakes. It's so good. You got to try it.
I will. And for those who are wondering, Ranma 1/2 had 161 episodes, 2 feature films, and 13 OVAs.
It's all a haze, Dennis.
But I know. But it's still such a kick-ass show.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
I bet you go to a lot of conventions. I bet you see a whole bunch of Ukyo cosplayers.
I don't. I've only been to a few conventions, because I'm usually working when they're happening, or I just don't get out to many. But the couple that I've been to were more recent, and I ended up seeing way more Sango costumes than Ukyo costumes, and those are phenomenal, because they've got the armor on, and they've got the hirai coats on the back. They're just really cute. There's a 12-year-old girl who came by, and I signed stuff, and her parents didn't really know what Inuyasha was. They said, we just knew that we had to get her here to meet you, and she had to wear this outfit, but can you tell us what the show is? And she's just like, Sango! So, yeah, it was great.
Parents, have you got a couple hours?
Exactly. I said, that's a loaded question. You might just want to watch it with her. That might be easier than me trying to describe it, because
I don't know.
There's a lot.
If you get the parents to watch it with them, then they might say no, because there were a lot of new shows.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. I wonder if they took those out for some of the. I know they're in the box sets, but I think they did an edited version for TV. They did here anyway. They aired them on YTV, which is, I think, stands for Youth Television here in Canada.
Yes, I don't know. All I know is that on the Adult Swim, which is where Inuyasha first aired, it was the only really nudity I saw was when they were in the hot springs, and they were telling the story how Sango got that nasty scar on her back.
Right.
And that was a kind of Sango's story was actually very, very sad.
It was. I mean, she loses her entire family, and I always felt a real kinship to Sango, because I have a younger brother, and I'm very protective over him. So all of the Kohaku scenes were always really close to heart, because I imagine my own brother in that situation. She's always looking for him, and when she finds him, he's not who she remembers him being, and that's the big tragedy. She loves him anyway, and she can kind of never get him back. So she's a tragic heroine, and even then, they are able to inject all this comedy into Inuyasha, which is something that's really cool about it. Is it's able to do both of those things.
Yes. Oh, yes. But you could use that bond with your brother, to fuel your performance as Sango looking for her brother. It's perfect.
Yes, it's very method.
Method to madness, of course.
Yeah. Luckily, my brother was never killed by demons, so he's still around, which is good.
That tell you what, that Raku man, that dang old creepy. He's like the cockroach of anime evil. You squash him, and he still comes back from behind the wall.
Yeah, indestructible.
Guy, I don't know. I wouldn't trust a guy walking around with a baboon pelt on. That just ain't right. That's some
Yeah.
Now, like you were saying, you were best known as Sango from Inuyasha. What's it like to play her besides, being the whole brotherly thing? Is it cool to play a kick-ass demon slayer?
Of course it is. What do you think? It's the best. And that character has everything. She's got the romance, which often gets turned on its head and turns into some weird comedic thing. We've got these massive fight sequences. Sango's amazing. I kind of want to be her, She's Rumiko has this great way of writing female characters that are sensitive and girlish, but they're still kick-ass fighters, and they stand up for themselves. She's a great part to play. And I actually rolled into Inuyasha pretty much right after Ranma finished, and we had about 6 months or a year, and I remember Toshi calling me in saying, I've got another one for you. She's got a massive weapon as well. It's right up your alley. And I went right into recording that. So
working on Ranma did kind of open the door to work on Inuyasha.
Yeah, it was the same script consultant for Viz that worked on that show, and we recorded that at Ocean as well. And he never said so, but I kind of think he had me pegged for that part from the beginning, probably just from playing Ukyo. They're similar in certain ways. Their weapons being the first thing, giant weapons that they throw around.
I don't know.
But
because I think I'd rather have the giant spatula than a giant boomerang, because if you throw that, there's always a chance it'll come back and hit you.
Oh, no, she's just a great catch. There's no problem there. She's never dropped the Hidai coats.
Well,
and also you get to ride on a giant demon cat, which is pretty rad, too.
Riding on Kirara, it has its benefits, going long distances, and it's like the compact car, It's roomy on the outside, but when it curls back up, it's all cute and fluffy, and you can put it on your shoulder.
Exactly. And actually, Kilala looks a lot like my cat. Not two tails, and she doesn't turn into a giant, flaming, thing that you can ride. But she's got a little star on her forehead, just like Kilala does.
If we all had a Kilala, I think we'd all be free of this fuel dependency, and gas prices would go down, and we'd save the earth. Yeah,
but cat litter would get really expensive.
Well, no, if it shoots out like a rainbow, like the neon cat, someone should do that. Someone should take the neon cat and put Kilala in there and have a little fire going behind it, just going through like the sky, just doing the little neon.
That sounds like a job for one of your listeners.
Yes, listeners, make it happen. Kilala neon.
Send it in.
Send it in.
We demand to see it.
Yes, that's right. Now, do you guys? Now, can you tell us anything about whether you guys are working on Inuyasha: The Final Act?
I cannot.
Please.
And an astute listener might be able to figure out that it's interesting if I can't talk about it.
Well, we know you can't talk about it because you gotta keep it under wraps. But you gotta drop these little hints to let people know that you are not working on Inuyasha: The Final Act.
That's right. And that's all I can say about that.
I know that the two people are going to be replaced in the English dub. I mean, I'm not going to say who. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself, fans. I don't want this coming after my butt, too.
Well, if you ask me about who those actors are, I could tell you what they're up to. But I don't know too much about the casting of anything, really, on any show that I work on until you're in there doing it.
Yeah. I heard Shishomaru's really in a danger field. Hint, hint. and this goes into another question. What do you think about the argument that Inuyasha has way too much filler in it?
Oh, I've never heard that argument.
Well, apparently a lot of people think that Inuyasha has too many side stories, like Kagome being in the play and Moroku, being framed by Hachi or I don't know, the two Kilalas or the fake Shikon jewel shard, and a lot of people are just wanting to see the fight with Naraku, or we get a side story with Kikyo or Shishomaru, or Inuyasha got that rock stuck to his hand by the three monkeys, which that was a funny episode, by the way. I enjoyed because you got three little monkeys and anything is funny. So you guys need to shut up about that. But it's just...
I think you have to look at it like a soap opera in a way, and it's a saga, and there are a lot of people who can't get enough of it and who were just devastated when it ended. So I guess I would remind those people how upset you are when there's no more Inuyasha to watch. So the more of it, if you love it, the more of it that's out there, the better. And that's just kind of the stuff that fleshes out the world that they live in, and the characters that they are, and but it definitely makes it tricky, I think, when you're watching a marathon. That's a good month you got to commit, I'm sure. I don't know how many hours it works out to being, but...
I take it you haven't seen the Robot Chicken sketch where the dad pretends to be into Inuyasha just so he can get his daughter off the TV so he can watch the hockey game?
No, I haven't even heard of that.
Oh, YouTube Robot Chicken Inuyasha after this. Seth MacFarlane, who's the guy who made Family Guy and The Cleveland Show and American Dad, he voices his father who becomes obsessed with Inuyasha, and it's like a big middle finger to Inuyasha fans. It's like
okay, I'll have to check it out.
And no, there's no Sango. So if you were wondering, no Sango.
Okay.
Show it to Richard Cox, man. He will get livid. He will have a day with that.
Oh, knowing Richard, he'll love it. I'll send it over to him. I'll watch it and send it over to him as a prank.
Yeah, but you were saying Inuyasha's kind of like a soap opera. I don't know. Days of Our Inu doesn't sound really catchy.
No, I think they picked the right title for sure.
We'll return to Days of Our Inu after this.
Yeah.
Or Days of Our Shikon after this. Now, many fans want to ask, does Sango have feelings for Moroku despite this love-hate relationship? She loves to hate Moroku.
Of course she does. Of course she does. I always played it that way, that, I think there were a lot of chances for them to get together early on, and he always blew it. But, I think she's in love with him, but she's also not a doormat, so she's not going to truck with no nonsense.
I don't know, Kelly, because, Moroku, he's playing the field pretty hard, that's some big Pippin right there, because Pippin ain't easy.
Well, Sango likes the bad boys.
Then why isn't she with Inuyasha? Kagome just seems to be whining all the time. And I'm getting
He's too furry, maybe. Maybe she doesn't like that much body hair. I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't delve that deeply into that side of her character.
It's just unique how they play off each other, especially when, Moroku's, stroking the rear end and everything. And that shocked me, actually. Like, whoa.
And she falls for it every time. She falls for the sweet romance, and then he gets her every time. Yeah.
Of course.
She's a glutton for punishment.
Of course, he gets his comeuppance with the boomerang to the head or a fist.
It's true. I think he kind of likes it, though. I think he likes taking a beating once in a while.
Well, you got to... Ooh, maybe he's into that kind of thing. I don't know.
I think that's what's going on there between the two of them. I think so. I've never thought about it before, but now that you mention it, there's some definite... maybe they're just kinky. No, I don't know.
Wow, this show just got really dark. Oh, great. No, oh, man, now I got a mental image in my head. Dude. Okay, let's push that right aside. Now, you are also the voice of Barbie in several of the popular Barbie movies, which we've had Arnie Roth on, who was the conductor for a lot of the music for those movies. What was it like to voice one of America's cultural icons?
Surreal. I mean, a dream come true. I played Barbie for 10 years, and it was amazing. I mean, my name is now listed in the same credits alongside Tim Curry and Angelica Houston and Kelsey Grammer, like really wonderful, Martin Short, amazing actors. Just a phenomenal experience and my ideal in the way that I've never desired to be famous. So I get to play this amazing, iconic character, but walking down the street, no one would ever recognize me, which is perfect. That's my ideal world. She's just a great character, and the way they wrote her for those 10 years I was playing her, it was a pleasure to play her because I think she was a really great role model. Barbie always saved the day. She never relied on the prince to come and save her, and she always tried to see the good in people. It sounds cheesy, but that's something I really liked about those movies. And it's something that parents could have on in the background and not worry about their kids watching. I just think they did a great job, and I really enjoyed playing her.
Let's just hope Barbie doesn't pull a Sesame Street YouTube page, if you heard about that, because that'd be the downfall of society if that happened. Oh boy! But I did see a couple movies, not by choice. Not by choice. I have a sister. So.
Well, it's different if you're not a 4-year-old. It's they're not quite as probably not quite as engaging for adults to watch over and over and over again.
I thought you did a pretty good job as Barbie, and I could not watch one of the newer ones, even though they've got Barbie, A Perfect Christmas coming out. I mean, you were in Barbie and A Christmas Carol, and I never saw that. I'm like Barbie is Scrooge? I'm like, but Barbie is the kind-hearted person. How are they going to pull that off?
I'm sure they'll find a way. I'm sure they'll find a way. But
you were in Barbie and the Three Musketeers. Barbie.
I was, yeah.
Barbie in A Fairy's Tale. Barbie Goes to the Moon, I guess. There's just so many. I mean,
Nutcracker, Swan Lake, Rapunzel. Yep, Three Musketeers. A lot of Magic of Pegasus.
And of course, it's Christmas time, just right around the corner. A Nutcracker and A Christmas Carol. You know, they're anywhere, folks. Pick them up, take them home to your kids. They will love them, and you know it's going to be good because Kelly Sheridan is in it, and Kelly Sheridan does some Cracker Jack work.
Shucks.
Well, maybe except for Greenback Jane. Maybe that one was a little... Black Butler, man, that show had me going WTF.
Yeah, that was a pleasure for all of us in town, too, because most of the shows we're on, we don't get to say some of the stuff that we got to say on Black Lagoon. That was a fun one.
I think like in a 5-minute span on a YouTube video, Revy said, well, what the hell, about 120 times.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't think I swore too much as Greenback Jane because she was just too busy kind of being arrogant. I think she probably thought she was above swearing. So I didn't get quite as much fun on that one, but it was great in other ways.
Hey, when you can make money, man, in a sense, you're making money and your character's making money. In a sense, it's an ironic role.
It's like some weird vortex where we feed off of each other. It's amazing. Oh. But she was a lot of fun. And I remember that was a big challenge in the studio too, because that monologue that you played actually in the compilation of stuff that I did at the beginning of the show, I can remember that monologue, and I kind of had to do it straight through because there weren't many pauses in the actual animation, so there were big chunks of text and lots of technical kind of stuff. She's talking about the press machine and all that stuff, so I'd just take a big breath and kind of go and hope that it fit. And I guess it did, but we got through it, so... but that one was a really fun challenge just because of how it was animated and the amount of text, I had to say.
Yeah, I got lost at press.
Yes, I think you're supposed to, because I think everyone else she's in a church, I think, when she's talking about that, and they're all sitting around going like, oh my God, who is this chick?
Like,
she's just talking and talking and talking.
Like press, then a laser printer, and the internet, and then after a while I just went, F it.
Yeah.
She makes counterfeit money. That's all I gotta know.
Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, gosh, man.
That's how I felt doing it. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. Techno bull, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I guess she had to be the smart aleck because hey, how are you going to print counterfeit money if you don't know how to do it? And I'm like, okay, I don't want the history of counterfeit money. Come on. But I guess it was written that way to, irritate Revy and the nuns. And they just,
exactly.
They point a gun at her. They just shut up, point a gun at her.
And that's the comedy of it. Is she's so wrapped up? I mean, she's running for her life, but she's so wrapped up into how brilliant she is. She's actually very arrogant. It was a fun role to play. That she's kind of completely oblivious to the danger around her when she's talking about money.
Yeah.
It's her true love, I think.
Yeah, it's all about the money. Okay, so we move on from anime, and we now dive into shows like Martin Mystery, which I said I thought was actually pretty good. You played Diana Lombard, who's Martin's stepsister. What was it like working on Martin Mystery, and how did it differ from working on an anime to working on this American style cartoon that had a couple aspects of anime in them?
Well, with anime, when you're recording anime, it's just you in the studio. So you're not working off of other actors. I mean, sometimes you can hear what they've recorded if they've come in before you, but you're not playing immediately in the room with these other actors. So with Martin, which we recorded before they animated it, all of us were in the studio. And Sam and I kind of probably had the most to say to each other, Sam Vincent, who played Martin, and actually Billy, he played Billy also. And it was just a blast. It was really fun. I think they purposely cast the two of us to play opposite each other because we have a really good rapport, and we were great at this kind of back and forth, frenetic, crazy thing that they wanted. And the pace was always a really big thing with that show because they wanted to animate it like an anime show. So they wanted it to be fast and really crazy. And that was what we had to do in the studio. So we're actually going at that speed that you hear in the show. And then they also had us record a whole bunch of miscellaneous, they call it a Walla library, which they do for most shows, which is just a bunch of miscellaneous sounds, like a bunch of laughs and gasps and things like that they can insert where they need it. But we did a massive Walla library for Martin Mystery because they knew they were going to animate all this extra stuff that didn't have dialogue, all this weird, things where they suddenly turn into something 2 feet tall and he's rolling around on the ground laughing and crying, and they needed a bunch of just miscellaneous weird noise to be able to stick into anything that they decided to do off the cuff.
I liked Martin Mystery because not only did you have Samuel Vincent in there, who people best know as Double D from Ed, Ed and Eddie, which is probably one of the best shows of all time, but you also had a giant caveman. I mean, Java the Caveman. That was awesome. What shows have cavemen working in cafeterias? Not many, I'll tell you that much. But to have one of these shows that is emulating anime, but with an American feel to it, not many shows do that. I believe only a few like Totally Spies and... Yep,
which is another Marathon show. Yeah, Marathon's great at that. They really have that style down for sure. And it's successful. People like it because it's really fun to watch.
It's always weird though because the show's in Torrington, and that's in Sherbrooke, Quebec, and people are like they're on their Google going, where is Torrington Academy? Does it exist? Where is the center? I do not know. And actually, for those who don't know, Martin Mystery was based on an Italian comic called Martin Mystery.
I do know that. He wasn't a kid in the comic, though, was he? Was he?
I do not know. Let me check it out.
He was older in the comic.
Let's see.
I remember doing my research when I first got in, and now, of course, I'm getting old, and it's gone out of my head. But
it was actually based in New York City, and he is a art historian, archaeologist, anthropologist, adventurer, writer, television producer, and a collector of unusual objects.
Yeah, they took some creative license for the show for sure, because I don't think he was a teenager in the comics. So this way they could have him get into all sorts of scrapes with girls. And he was kind of goofy, and
Yeah,
it was an excuse to have.
In the comic, Diana was his longtime fiancée, later his wife.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And she's a social worker, angry with Martin because he often travels without noticing earlier and surrounded by beautiful women. It's like the comic incarnation of Moroku. Man, that follows you like a lost puppy, man.
Yeah. Can't get rid of him.
But it still seems like you've had an extensive amount of work. And before we get into our listener questions, I got to ask you about this. Now, you're on this show, and it's called Hero 108.
Yes, on Cartoon Network.
Yes, and you are Mystique Sonia, or as they say, Hero 003.
Oh, I didn't know that was her number. Is it?
I think it was 003. I was doing some
That's
research.
Awesome.
Yeah, I wonder who was 002 and 001. For those who probably don't know, 001 was me. I don't know.
Oh.
But I don't know. I haven't got any powers. I mean, I can't, grow like a 5-foot tongue. And I actually have a joke about that. And it's not anything dirty, but the joke is that if Mystique Sonia French kissed you, she could rip your pelvis right out of your throat. You'd be in traction for a year if she kissed you.
That might be a suggestion for season 3. You can send it over to them. See.
So what was it like working on that show? It's a unique style of animation and a unique story where humans and animals are enemies, and they're fighting each other. And they're these heroes that ride on turtle tanks, which is awesome, by the way. And they're trying to unite the animal kingdoms and the people kingdoms and into this thing called Big Green, which just sounds like
Big Green is the land that they live in, and they're not necessarily enemies with the animals. Oftentimes, the animals are deceived or cast under an evil spell, and they have to battle the animals, and then they usually win them over in some way, and then the animals join Big Green, so they accumulate these animal friends. And so every episode is a different animal. They have like Tiger King and Lizard Queen and all these different, and there's always like one boss of the animals. So you go and you fight the tigers, and there's one big Tiger King. And it's just, it's an action-packed. I knew that it was going to be a success the minute I read it, because I thought, I don't get this at all. This is obviously something that's made like for kids, because I don't get it. And lo and behold, it's a success and people love it. So they're doing their job. It's aimed at, well, I'm not exactly sure who it's aimed at, but I know a couple of 9 and 10-year-old boys who are gaga over this show, who love it. It's a lot of fun to record. I'm the only girl on the show, which is a frequent thing with animation. There's usually on these kind of, we call them boy shows, like Transformers or something. There's all these parts for guys, and there's like one girl, and every girl in town dukes it out over this one part. So all of the parts are played by Ian Corlett, Brian Drummond, Adrian Petru, Andrew Francis, Scott McNeil, and they play a bunch of different characters in the show. So it's just this madhouse in the studio. It gets really, really, really silly with lots of pranks and hijinks, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, that's a great show to work on. Cindy Akers-Robinson is the voice director on that, and she does a good job at corralling the energy.
Well, whoever made that, what you said about, it does make sense, so it must be popular. I believe that is what the guy that made Pokemon said. And now look at it.
Yeah.
He's laughing to the bank.
It's just wacky, and kids respond to that. I mean, it makes sense. There's stories, and there's a moral, and, there's a beginning and middle and end, but there's just goofy stuff happens. Like Mystique Sonia can spit, and they turn into these magic buns that they all eat and love. Like, there's just weird stuff that happens. They all have crazy powers. Mighty Ray zaps lightning bolts out of his eyeballs. It's just bananas.
I actually tried to watch an episode, but I gotta have like some NyQuil to make any sense, because you got a guy who paints and he shoots blow darts out of his brush, and you got a ghost bunny whose ears fold over to like a little ninja mask, And then you got that one guy, he has a human head, but he's got some kind of bird body. I'm like, what the f***? I'm like, someone was on some NyQuil or something when they were coming up with these concepts.
I believe they're based on a video game. That's what I was told. That explains some of the crazy powers and the really, really imaginative animation, because they were video game characters. And still are, I'm assuming.
Wow. Oh, boy. I think these video games getting their own cartoons, I think that's going to be the death. And I just found out it's got an app for iPhone.
Oh.
So now you can play Hero 108 on your iPhone. And I'm like...
Yes, we have played it in the studio while we were recording.
That actually makes me wonder, what if you took Hero 108, the game, and you put them head-on with the Angry Birds?
I don't know.
Oh, oh boy, that'd be pretty crazy.
That sounds like something that has to be televised and people take bets on it.
Oh, yeah, Angry Birds. How many of the heroes can the yellow bird hit? How many can the black bomb bird blow up? Okay, Kelly, we're going to take a quick commercial break and get ready for some listener questions. You guys are listening to The Dennis Daniel Show.
This is Ben Tennyson. When I'm saving the world with the power of my Ultimatrix, me, Kevin, and Gwen like to listen to BearcastRadio.com and to the All-Taste Explosion with the Boogaloo Shrimp, featuring John Pokemon and the Dennis Daniel Show. It's hero time!
And we are back here on the Dennis Daniel Show. We have got voice actress Kelly Sheridan on the air. Are you ready, Kelly?
Ready.
Okay, our first question is actually a voice request, and it comes from Cedric Smith. Would you say "you dumbass" in Ukyo's voice?
You ready? Cedric, is that who this is for?
Yes, it is.
You dumbass. Cedric.
Oh, okay, because I was saying, like, what did I do? A commercial. Okay, I'm pretty sure he really appreciates that. We were talking earlier today, and he's a big fan of Ranma. He loves Ukyo, and he feels that she's getting a raw deal with all this Ranma running around.
I think she does. I think she should have settled down with a different nice boy. Don't you think? She could have just made him okonomiyaki all day and been happy, but again, I play the girls that always are always searching for the unattainable fella.
Yeah, but she should have just taken her restaurant, invest some money into it, and make it the next big Starbucks.
Yeah, I think she could have definitely franchised that stuff. No problem.
I mean, we got the commercial. We got the commercial right now. All you got to do, a chain of Ukyo Kuonji, Okinawa restaurants. Man, that would be everywhere. New York City, you see one, boom, look down the street, another one. And when you stand between them, time stops. That's actually the theory behind Starbucks. When you stand between two Starbucks, time actually stops.
You know, here in Vancouver, there's a corner where there are two Starbucks that are kitty corner to each other. So you just have to cross the street and then cross the street the other way, and you're at another one. We are, I think next to Seattle, we probably have the most Starbucks of anywhere per capita in the world. It's ridiculous.
I wonder what an Ukamaki Starbucks coffee would taste like. Challenge accepted.
Salty.
Well, you got to have some salt, you know. Again, not too much salt, raise the blood pressure and whatnot.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
From Zoids King 89, I have a two-part question. Here in the U.S., everyone talks about Inuyasha, Martin Mystery, and X-Men Revolution, which everyone knows that you play Scarlet Witch.
Yes.
Ugh, I wouldn't want to cross her in a dark alley. Ugh.
No, she's scary.
But my very personal favorite was your role playing the trigger-happy Lena Taros in Zoids New Century Zero. Part 1. Overall, how did Zoids compare with your other more popular roles? And Part 2. If more episodes were to be dubbed in English, would you consider playing a role for that series?
Well, first of all, how did it differ from playing other parts? Well, I mean, obviously the character's different. The neat thing about Zoids, actually, is oftentimes we were allowed to do a bit of improv, because there'd be, say, for example, the end of the show, she's fighting, and we'd have to make up a whole bunch of dialogue at the end of the show for them to fade out on. So that was really fun. That was one of the first shows I did with James Corrigal, who's a fantastic director in town, who I've worked on a bunch of other stuff. And, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And what was the other question?
If they considered doing another series or more episodes to be added in English, would you consider playing a role for the series?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Of course.
No,
I got to pay my bills, man.
Oh, yeah. Got to pay the bills by riding it with lions and mechanical drills.
Yeah, that's right. That was a really fun show.
Because there are these kids, and they're piloting mechanical, lions?
A bunch of different animals, but yeah, ligers.
And the sad part was they never transformed into a Megazord.
No, unfortunately. Yeah, and they'd get into these battles and matches and fight each other. And then there was, it was the subplot of them training and it was a lot of fun, that show.
Yeah. Our next question is from Callie. This is kind of an odd one, but I have a question for Kelly! ! What was it like to have switch roles from Barbie to Sango? I remember being young and watching Barbie and the Nutcracker, then growing a little and watching Inuyasha, then nearly having a heart attack out of surprise that Barbie had the same voice as my favorite demon-slaying character in my very first anime. So I'm curious to know how you switch between roles and how you prepare for each role. Thanks!
Well, you're not doing both roles in one day or at the same time, which is handy. But that's just the life of an actor. Is you don't really play one thing for too long. I mean, in those cases, I guess I did. I played Barbie for 10 years and Sango for 10 years and Ukyo for 10 years. But I'm not recording all the time. We'd do one session for 2 days or so, and then I wouldn't do anything else for another 2 months. And you're doing other stuff in between. That's just kind of the life of an actor, is you get in the mindset of what you're doing that day, and you go in and you do it, and then you kind of leave it at work. I'm not a big method actor where I have to really concentrate to get into the role or anything like that. I just go in and have fun and do it, and every character is an extension of myself, a little bit, in a way, and I'm always me, so that makes it easy.
Yeah, kick ass as a demon slayer, but you're not too method that you cannot play a princess that teaches us all a little bit about accepting people from inside our hearts.
That's right. And a lot of it has to do with having good directors, too. They'll often guide you in the right direction. There are a lot of actors who, I'm not this type of actor, but someone like, say, Scott McNeil is, where he'll play 5 different characters in one show, and he's flipping back and forth between one thing to another. And that's a mind meld. I can't wrap my head around doing something like that. And a lot of actors end up just recording that stuff separately. They'll record one character, and then they'll go back and record the next one all in one show. And sometimes you're talking to yourself, which is just not ours. But, I don't know. I do that's it frequently. A real skill.
I do it frequently.
Now, your next step is to get paid to do it.
Oh, well, yeah. Or to make the voices stop. Don't worry, Veronica Taylor said the same thing about us. But I'll tell you what, Scott McNeil is crazy. But then again, he's got that crazy cowboy voice going around talking like this, Mudface.
Yes. Yeah, that's Scotty.
Oh, Scotty. I'll tell you what, Sky's a class act, and he's always wearing that cowboy hat, even though he's not a cowboy.
And you know what? He's like that when you meet him in person. I know he dresses like that for cons, but that is him. That guy at the cons, that's the guy in the studio. He's exactly that guy.
Oh, I've got quite the story of meeting Scott McNeil, and I would like to share it with everyone. Okay, so it was OhioCon about 5-6 years ago, and I of course I cosplayed back then. I was Inuyasha cosplaying Koga, and I'm walking around and I see Scott McNeil doing this interview, so I go over to watch, and he looks over at me and he goes, "Why are you Inuyasha cosplaying Koga?" And then I go as Inuyasha, "I'm trying to prove that anyone can be a stinking wolf." And then everyone goes, oh, and then Scott starts acting like he's crying. He's like, you're dead, man. You're dead. Oh, Scott, I'll tell you what. He is one of my, he's got to be one of the most funnest people to work with as a voice actor. He can, do all these crazy characters like Professor Crazy Hair from Yakety Yak, but still be able to do these serious roles like Wolverine in X-Men Evolution.
Yeah, he's got enormous range. I don't know where he finds it. He comes out with a lot of stuff that I would never be able to do. He's pretty amazing to watch.
Oh.
And he has a massive love affair with the microphone. If you're in the studio with him, Scott is like, his nose is pressed up against the microphone, and he's kind of got his hands wrapped around it. It's like he's making out with the microphone. But I guess that works for him because he obviously does really well. But he's funny to watch. We tease him. He gets a lot of teasing in the studio, but he's always a good sport about it.
Oh yeah. Well, if you can't laugh at yourself, then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Okay, and Kelly actually had a part 2 to that. Would you say, as Sango, Hirai Coats? And let me give you.
Are you ready? This is going to be big.
Hang on.
She was yells when she throws it.
Give me 1 second. Hang on 1 second. All right. I'll go quiet for like 1 second, and then you can do it.
Okay. Hirai Coats.
Hang on. Wait 1 second. Hang on. That boomerang broke the soundproof glass! Oh my God! Oh no! Oh, Sango, what did you do? You just threw the boomerang through a $900 soundproof glass window!
Oh my God!
Blame your listener. She asked for it.
But I just got done paying off Zimmer Hall when Gohan blew it up. How am I going to afford a $900 soundproof window? What am I going to tell Dr. Owens? Oh, hey, Dr. Owens, the broken window? Oh, Feudal Era Demon Slayer broke it. Aflac covers that, right? State Farm covers that, right? I'm f***ed.
Clean up on aisle 5.
I know.
Sorry about that one.
I know, that was a... that's why we're one of the best shows out there.
It's funny, I mentioned that girl that I met at the con who's dressed up as Sango, and I always sign, when I sign Sango stuff, I sign Kelly Sheridan, and then underneath I put Hirai Coats, and I spell it out with an exclamation mark. And this kid's parents went, what does that mean? What is that? So then I had to explain that. I said, well, I see she's got this boomerang, and that's its name, and she always yells it when she throws it. Oh, okay. I think they were sure that I was writing something inappropriate on their kid's poster.
I'm trying to figure out what Hirai Kotsu means, but all I'm getting is how do you make your Hirai Kotsu? And I don't want to make one. I want to learn how it's...
I was told it's the name of the boomerang, but I don't know if it actually means something in Japanese or if it's just a name they made up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Hirai Kotsu sounds a little more classier than Big-Ass Boomerang of Demon Death.
Probably. So that's a lot to say when you're throwing it. By that time, an enemy knows it's coming, and then they are able to stop your attack. It's just not practical.
Well, I just want to know, why does everyone got to shout their attack? I mean, Moroku's got to shout Wind Tunnel, and Inuyasha's got to shout Wind Scar, or Adamant Barrage, or Iron Reaver Soul Stealer. If they hear the first few syllables of that, I think they're going to know what's going to come next.
It's part of the magic, Dennis. Get with it.
Well, you don't see me shouting radio attack and then screaming into the microphone.
Well, maybe you should start.
I don't know, because if I started doing that, I think a lot of my listeners would go deaf.
Oh, yeah, I guess. And then you're out of listeners, and you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
And I'm up
this
Dawson's Creek without a paddle, and that's not where I want to be right now. Now, our next question is from Rin Anime God. Do you by chance have a favorite role that you've done?
Oh, that changes by the minute. I've been lucky to play so many amazing characters. It's kind of fun. I'm at the point in my career where I'm not just getting cast as the kind of young girl voice. I'm able to do, I'm getting cast as some moms and some stuff with accents and some really wacky cartoony stuff. So that's actually been, I can't say I've had a favorite role because a lot of them are just really great. But it is fun now to be able to be playing stuff that's more diverse, which is exciting. I know that doesn't really answer the question, but I can't pick a favorite. They're all so great.
I don't know.
Awesome.
Hitomi Kanazaki from Escaflowne was pretty good.
Yeah, Hitomi was wonderful to play. That was another one that I auditioned for and had no idea how big it was. It's really good that I'm ignorant of this kind of stuff because it would just completely psych me out when I go in for the audition.
Well, it's important because if you know what you're going to expect, then you can't give it that element of surprise when you audition, because if you don't have that element of surprise in a lot of cases, you won't be able to give your 100% performance. You got to be able to think on your feet, bite the bullet, dance with the devil, and you have to be able to give this awesome performance, because if you know what you're expecting, then you're not going to give your most stellar performance. On the spot is the way to go, Kelly.
Well, I think if you're trying to play to the expectations of, ooh, this character is famous, that you can't really play that. You can't really play, that's not something to dig into. So you play the character. You play the character's situation. You play all that stuff. But you can't really worry about whether people are going to like it or not, or whether you're going to meet their expectations, because you just can't. You just have to do, you just end up screwing yourself over that way. And I'm sure there are people that don't like certain things I've done, and that's okay. They're allowed to not like it. I can't please everybody. But it definitely helps to go in blind to those expectations and just do what you're going to do.
Hey, you look at those voice acting roles and you go, come at me, bro. Come at me, bro.
That's right.
You voice a girl with a spatula and a girl with a giant boomerang, so what you got to be afraid of? Nothing. Are there any new series that you're currently working on that you can tell us about?
Well, we did a second season of Hero 108, which we talked about, which was really fun. And I'm working on a show called Wreck-It Rabbit, which airs, I don't think it airs in the States or in Canada. I haven't been able to find it, but it airs on the Disney Channel in Europe. There might be some way to watch it online. I'm not sure. But that one's really fun. That's another marathon show, or with some of the people from Marathon. And it's about a giant magician's bunny. He's like a 6-foot-tall bunny, or rabbit, I should say. And his human best friend Jay, who's a kid, and they get into all sorts of scrapes together because Wreck-It has magical powers, but they always go awry. So something happens in the beginning of the episode, and it's a disaster, and they have to resolve it. And so I played Jay's mom on that show. Jay's the kid, and he has a mom and a stepdad named Lorne. So I'm working on that show, which is a lot of fun. And those are the only things I can talk about. Unfortunately, they often make us sign a lot of non-disclosure agreements where there are shows that I really, really want to brag about and talk about because they're super exciting, but I have to wait until they come out to be able to talk about them.
In other words, you know nothing.
I know nothing.
Yeah, it's not like we can't talk about Inuyasha, the final act. Because we cannot say that Kelly Sheridan is in Inuyasha, the final act. People who are saying Kelly Sheridan is in Inuyasha, the final act, should stop saying it. And if you have any evidence that Kelly Sheridan is in Inuyasha, the final act, you should go to your police, because that has got to be an obscure lie. Subtle as a screen door in a submarine. That's what we're all about.
Yep, I'm not saying a word.
Well, of course you can't say a word about it. I'm going to stop. That joke's getting old right now. So, I don't know if you've answered this already, but what character do you think you resemble the most personality-wise?
Well, like I said, they're all a little bit of me in some way or another. But I'd say I'm probably a lot like Diana Lombard in a way. I'm kind of anal retentive, and I'm a little bossy. I think I probably have a better sense of humor than she is. I'm a little looser, but I'm probably quite a bit like Diana in certain ways, and there's a little bit of them in all of me, I'm sure, or a little bit of all of them in me.
I like the smart bookie girl one. I like that. that way you at least know she'll be serious with you and not be a complete. Even though at times she can be a bit of a bitch.
I think Diana would loosen up and have a lot more fun if she wasn't always looking out for Martin. 'Cause she keeps her on her toes. She's always chasing around, and that stresses her out. If she could just read her books and do her nerdy school stuff, I think she'd be a lot more fun. Because she wouldn't always be chasing him around. But secretly, I think she kind of likes it too. I think she likes
She likes being the adult in the young group.
Backing him up, yeah, for sure.
Well, when you got a guy that has the powers of that freaking watch, that's like giving a monkey a machete. You got to be careful on how he misabuses that thing.
Here's a fun tidbit. Terrell Rothery, who played Mom on that show, also played the voice of the watch.
Man, if I had a watch like that, it'd be game over. I mean,
yeah,
it could shoot out maps and legend X's and goggles and I think a grappling hook. Forget that James Bond stuff. Give me a center watch any day of the week.
Diana never got one of those.
Yeah, I can understand why Java never got one. The guy's pretty scared of fire, so that's understandable. But Diana not getting one, that's just, brains can only take you so far.
Dale Wilson had a sweet job on that show because Java didn't say much. So Dale, who played Java, would like sit there and watch us all do our thing, and then he'd stand up and say his 2 syllables as Java, and then he'd sit back down and wait for us to carry on and talk a mile a minute, and he'd stand up and say his next thing. Java's known for his brevity.
If he got paid the same, I can only imagine him going,
Java rich, bitch.
that would I am sorry, I'm ruining this. I am so sorry. That is just hilarious. Do you know if you're going to be appearing at any conventions near the end of December or in the new 2012?
I won't be appearing in anything this year. I've been invited to Anime Revolution, which is here in Vancouver next year, and it's in August, though, so I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to attend. But if anyone would like to see me at a con, then write the organizers and let them know. I can't go to everything, but I definitely consider all the invitations I get. Sometimes it's just hard to get away from work, which is the irony, I guess. But, yeah, anyone in London or Hawaii or New York who'd like me to come to a con there, I'm totally game.
Kelly, when you kick as much ass as you do with voice acting, sometimes you got to make those sacrifices. It's like Ben Parker once said, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And you've got this great power of voice, but along must come this responsibility of staying committed to doing those voices, even when, you can't interact with your fans. But luckily you have outlets like this and the Dennis Daniels Show that you can actually talk to your fans and let them know that you appreciate and you can share your love for them and for all the works you do. Our final question is, do you have anything you like to say to your fans?
It sounds corny, but I wouldn't have a job if people didn't watch the shows that I'm on. So I'm incredibly grateful for that, and I get lots of really wonderful letters and emails from people that have watched stuff. It sometimes makes me feel old because there are people that have said, oh, yeah, I started watching Barbie when I was a kid, and now I watch Inuyasha, and to think that there are people that have been watching stuff since they were little is pretty incredible. So I love hearing from fans.
Hey, you got one right here, Inuyasha since 2004.
Awesome.
7 years I've been rocking Inuyasha, so.
Other than that, I would just say thank you. Thank you for watching the shows and for sending your letters and for joining my Facebook page and posting pictures of you guys dressed up in outfits and pictures that you've drawn, and all of that stuff is, it must not seem like it to them sometimes because they send this thing out into the ether and don't know if I've seen it but I do get all the mail that's sent, and I read and appreciate every last little bit of it that I get. So thanks, guys.
So you do have a Facebook page?
I do. It's, what's my handle? I'm sure if you just Google Kelly Sheridan on Facebook, it pops up. My little icon's there.
We'll put a link to your Facebook page on the All Taste Explosion website at alltasteexplosion.com.
Perfect. And I'm on Twitter, too, K Sheridan Voice.
Okay, folks. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up here for the Dennis Daniels Show. I want to thank Kelly, thank you so much for being on the show. It was truly a huge honor, and I hope you still keep kicking ass as Sango and Ukyo and
thank you for having
all
me.
the future roles that are coming. 2011 has been a kick-ass year, but I can guarantee you guys this: 2012 is going to even blow it even further out of the water, because Dennis Daniel Show gives you what you want. Kelly, again, thank you so much, and we're going to see you guys down the road. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. We'll see you guys in 2012. Good night, everybody!